Hello, family, and welcome back to His Daughter's Journey podcast. I'm your host, Felicia, and today's episode is a little different. Instead of diving into one of our regular topics, I want to take some time to share my story with you. The story behind this podcast, my testimony, and why this journey matters so much to me. I believe that our stories carry power. 12:11 says, "They overcame him by the blood of the Lamb and by the word of their testimony." So today I'm opening up, praying that my story will encourage you to trust God in your own journey. If I get a little emotional, y'all, please forgive me. I've never really done anything like this. Told I'm not ashamed to tell my testimony. I'm not ashamed to tell people about where I came from, what I've gone through, because I felt like for a long time I didn't know why I went through what I went through, and I asked the Lord why. So I'm just sharing. I've shared some tidbits in other episodes, but I kind of wanted to come on and share why I have a podcast, because I never thought that I, of all people, would have a podcast and really to share my testimony with others. But here I am. I'm going to start at the beginning, and I'm going to try to keep this under like a 30-minute mark because I get passionate about my story and the things that I've gone through, and I don't do regrets. Um, I learn, I get lessons from the things that I've gone through, even things that I didn't do, but things that have happened directly or indirectly to me. So I'm going to start at the beginning. I was born to a teenage mother, and I'm not going to get into the things that my mother has gone through, but she has had to go through her own situations in her life. And so I came into a situation. I was born into a situation. Just a short little backstory. My mother met my mother in Germany because my mother's father was in the military and my dad was in the military at the time. Long story short, she got pregnant. He did not know that my mother was pregnant, and he left Germany and went stateside. My mother eventually landed in Texas, which is Big Spring, Texas, which is where she was born. Her mother was born, where I was born, where my brother was born. One of my brother with my mother was born. Um, my mother's mother, my grandmother had passed earlier in the year. This was in 1973. And then my mother had me in September. Now, during this time, she met another man in Big Spring who was in the military, which is my brother and sister. And they got married after she had me. So again, I came into this world in that situation and amongst other things. So again, my mother had her own struggles and she got married. Her and my brother and sister's dad got married young, and that relationship lasted. My brother was born in 75 and my sister was born in 77. And then we moved to Japan. We lived in Japan for a year. They broke up. My mother and us three moved back. But instead of going to Texas, we moved to California. So I was born in Texas, raised in California. And after my mother moved back to California, which is where my grandmother lived and all of her children, well, the majority of her children, she meets another man. This is about 1980 at this time. She meets another man, and he also was in the military, but he was in the Marines. So we're living with him, and I'm in school. I probably was in the first grade, kindergarten or first grade. And this was back in the day when they would pin notes on you if you got in trouble or something like that. So don't think that I necessarily got in trouble, but I was an active child. I was going to people's desks. I was talking to them. I was not still. And so my mother's boyfriend at the time physically abused me for acting up and getting in trouble at school. Those little notes had Felicia wasn't paying attention. Felicia wasn't listening. She was visiting other kids or whatever. Um, I don't really remember all what happened. I just know that I was physically abused. And then I remember going to school and the teacher finding out that I had bruises and I got taken from my mother. Went to a foster home for a short period of time, and then I went to go stay with my grandmother until my mother got custody back. I seen my mother, my brother, and sister all the time because they always used to go to my grandmother's house, but I couldn't go with them. So that's the first thing. I don't know how I don't remember. Again, I don't remember a lot of that. I just remember certain bits and pieces. So again, I'm back with my mother. I'm living with her. I'm just growing up. We weren't rich. We were not. I pretty much grew up in poverty. I grew up without a car. We were always riding the bus or we was always walking. That's just the way it was at that particular time. So, I'm growing up, growing up, growing up. And one of my aunties had a boyfriend. And I don't know how old this person was. I just knew who his name was and what he looked like. And he would be like, hi. Us kids would be outside. I think I probably was 11, 12 years old at the time because this particular auntie was only maybe about 4 years older than me. So fast forward, I'm 14. All this time, I'm in church. I grew up in church. I could say I grew up since I got to California. I was going to church. So from 1980 till I turned about 19. Well, no, I've gone to church off and on, but since 1980, I've been going to church. So, I'm a child going up in church, drill team, choir rehearsal. Some of y'all know New Jay, shout out New Jay. Sunday school, vacation Bible school, I'm in church. Not really, we're young and we not really listening, but we know something of what's going on. I mean, that's for me. Not everybody is like that. So anyway, fast forward, I was 14. And I can say that I was a scary child. Once I started realizing and listening to sermons, not necessarily, I was listening and some things I would understand and some things I didn't understand. But the one thing that I did know, if you did anything wrong, you was going to hell. And that stuck with me. And I was just like, I don't want to do anything wrong. Now, yes, sometimes I didn't listen to my mama. I'm not a perfect child, but in the back of my mind, as I started getting older, I'm like, yo, I have the fear of going to hell. Like, I don't want to go to hell. I'm not going to do anything that's going to put me there. So fast forward, 14 years old, freshman in high school, becoming a young lady. And we run into this auntie's he's an ex-boyfriend at this point. And this was around the time of food stamps, when the food stamps was in the book, and my mom was on food stamps at the time. So we were walking to the store, and this family friend drives by, catches us, and we hadn't seen him in a while. It's been about 3-4 years, something like that. I'm not necessarily sure. And we're like, hey, my mom is like, hey, yada, yada, yada. And then I guess he asked, where you guys going? She's like, we finna go to the store. And he's like, I'll give you a ride. So we get to the store, and my mom realizes she had left her food stamps at home. My nickname is Mickey for some of y'all that don't know. Still call me. If you call me Mickey, that means you know me for a long time. So anyway, such and such, could you take Mickey back home because I left my food stamps? And when he took me back to the house, that's when my life changed. Now, this I remember. Some of the stuff I don't remember, but this I remember vividly. So he molested me, and then he took me back to the store. And I remember not feeling anything. Like, I knew I'm 14 years old. I knew exactly what happened. Go back to the store, and I didn't say anything. I was probably shocked. I didn't know what I was at this particular time. So anyway, over the course of maybe 3 months, my birthday's in September. Over the course of 3 months, it just happens periodically. My mother was a single mother at the time, and she was working. So he would come over to our house, and he would do it there. He would take me here. He would take me there. He would pick me up from school. It was almost like he was a boyfriend, but this man was in his 20s. And not one time did he ever threaten me. Not one time did he ever say that I remember, don't tell nobody. But I just knew not to say anything because nobody would believe me. That's what I felt. And I knew that this was something that was not supposed to happen. I knew it. I just didn't know how to stop it. And I was froze. And then I started disassociating from my body. I'm like, okay, my body is there, but my mind is someplace else. This happened in December 1980. I remember because it was around Christmas time. And I remember being at drill team practice, and I got sick and started throwing up. I'm throwing up. I'm sick. I'm not a kid who's sick all the time. So my mother and my grandmother take me to the emergency room. I'm pregnant. I got my mama over here. I'm sitting in the hospital bed. I got my mama over here, my grandmother over here. And they're like, not screaming, but they're like, hey, what's going on? And I had to break down and tell them what was going on. Not one time did my grandmother or my mother not believe me. So That's the first thing. The second thing was I am pregnant by my molester. And a lot of people don't know this. A lot of people that I grew up with did not know this, but I did get pregnant by my molester. And my mother forced me to have an abortion. I was I was forced. I'm just going to say I was forced. And I don't blame her because I think that's what she felt like that I needed to do, but that made the situation worse. It made the situation worse. First, because I felt like if she would just sat me down and told me what was happening and I would have had made a decision, then I probably would have had the child and, I just would have had a child at 14, 15 years old, 14 years old. But that's not what happened. And so this made it worse. And I don't blame my mother because, again, I think that's what she felt like she needed to do. My mother never pressed charges, and I'm not necessarily sure about why that was. Again, I think maybe that I don't blame her. I think that was just something she felt like that she needed to do, maybe to help. And so I didn't see this person again for a long time. So going through high school, and then since the summer of my senior year, and I meet a guy. I was 16 years old, about to be 17 years old again. This is the summer of my life. I'm about to be a senior. It's about to be on. My track is about to be on. Graduation is about to be on. Like college, man, I'm about to do that. I'm about to hit the ground running. I meet this guy and I get pregnant, and then the next thing you know, I get pregnant, and I'm like, I'm pregnant my whole senior year of high school. So all the plans that I had for myself down down the tubes. So I had my daughter, Miss Gania Kiera McGee, and I love her. She is my life. She's my first love. 2 days before I graduated from high school, from Ramona High School, left the hospital, went straight to graduation. I didn't at no time think that I was quitting school. So graduated from high school, go to college, progressing in college. I'm like, I'm about to give my daughter what I didn't have. I wanted her to have a good life. Not to say that I didn't have a good life, but I didn't want her to grow up in poverty. 3 comes around. I'm like, you know what? It's time for me to move out my mama's house. I'm in college, I'm in school, yada, yada, yada. Move out my mama's house. Well, on my way, I meet someone on the bus. He's asking me about my daughter. He's thinking that's my sister. I'm like, no, this is my daughter. So we exchange information. He seemed like he was cool. We date for 6 months. He asked me to marry him. I say yes. I'm in my last semester of college. I had plans. I'm going to school to be a nurse practitioner. What we talking about? That's what I got. That's what I'm doing. So we get married January of 94. By the end of February, I'm pregnant with my oldest son. Hey, Moosh. Ishmael. And then I start seeing things unravel. This is my story. I can only tell the truth. I thought this person was a man of God, but he did not treat me how a husband is supposed to treat his wife. My first marriage was um an abusive marriage. He was controlling, he was manipulative. I'm not going to front. I felt like he was evil because that's what I'm being treated. And I thought it was me. Because what man of God is going to be treat somebody evil? What man of God is going to treat his wife like that? It must be something wrong with me. Must be something wrong with me. Needless to say, I went to everybody, pastors, deacons, mothers of the church. I went to everybody. And then the Lord opened up my eyes. We were married for 7.5 years. Lord opened up my eyes and showed me who I was married to. He gave me dreams. He was like, "There's the door. I'm gonna show you who you're married to." I obliged. So we had 5 children together. So I have 6 children, 3 boys and 3 girls. They are all grown now. And then that was the beginning of my life being a single mother with children. My ex-husband felt like because I left him, then I had to find somebody to replace him. This was what was told to me. So he was not around. Everybody knows that. So now I am a single mother with 6 children with no work experience because when I met him, I was going to school and I had me a little part time job. I didn't know what it meant to be working 40 hours a week. What? I stayed at home with my children, and it was not because I wanted to. I was somewhat forced to stay home. I was told I could work outside the home. But anyway, so I had to navigate that. I had to navigate being a single mother with 6 children and trying to make it work. I was going to school, going to college to better myself, to make a better life for my daughter, for now all of my children, and I didn't want them to live in poverty. But guess what? Now I'm living in poverty. I do have an associate's degree, but I'm living in poverty. So, needless to say, and I've had my share of relationships. I did get married again 13 years after I got married the first time. That marriage did not work out. I got married again, and now I'm going through a divorce. So I have had my challenges, but and I've had some good relationships in between those times. It just things did not work out. But all of those relationships shaped me to be where I am today. And in all this time in between all of this that's being woven together, I'm trying to come to terms with the things that I'm going through. I feel shame. I feel guilt. I feel unworthiness. I feel broken. I feel like that I'm not worthy of anything good because in my mind, men are trying to destroy me. This is what I'm thinking. So let me build up my wall. Let me put on this strength. I don't like to be vulnerable in front of no man. I know what that's going to do for me. I know what that's going to get me. I know what's going to happen if I'm vulnerable in front of a man. So how about I do this? How about you think that you getting over on me? You're not getting over on me. You think that you're getting something from me? You're using me? Maybe that's not what's happening. That's not what's happening because I got this shield up. You're not gonna go through this shield. You're not gonna go through this blockage that I have. And I realized years later that the Lord was with me all the time. The Lord was with me all the time. He never left me. I didn't think that I didn't deserve for him to even be there. I didn't deserve that. This in my mind, I didn't deserve the Lord. The Lord, that's for them good people. That's for them people that ain't got them issues. That's for them people. But for me, no. So I've had all of that stuff was going on, and I had to deal with all of those things inside me, asking the Lord, why did you allow this stuff to happen to me as a child? Like, I didn't do nothing. Why did you allow this to happen at 14? I'm 14 years old. What, like, I thought you knew I didn't want to do it. I didn't want to. So navigating for years, I was in bondage and I felt lost for years, y'all. I'm about to be 52 years old. For 38 years, I was in bondage. I was lost. The devil was playing with my mind. He had me in a chokehold, y'all. Like for real. And I didn't have peace. I didn't have joy. I didn't have anything. I just was existing. Yes, my children, I had my children. Yes, and I was happy with them, but was it really happiness? Was it real? It wasn't real. It wasn't real. So I'm going to talk about the turning point. Now, I dedicated my life over to the Lord when I was a child, when I was younger, but I was dipping my toe in, doing what I wanted to do, just existing, wading through life, trying to figure it out on my own, trying to fix it on my own, trying to do things on my own. I can be in control of things. I'm this, I'm that. So I don't know when it was that I started feeling like you need to change. You need to make some changes. You need to make some changes. Okay, whatever, whatever. Okay, I would just kind of push it aside and then, whatever. So, of course, like I said, a year ago, I had gotten married in July, and this urge is getting stronger. You need to make some changes. You need to make some changes. And so I was like, you know what? I need to make some changes. So I started back going to church, and I had to rededicate my life over to the Lord because I was just like, I'm not happy. I may look happy, and nobody ever will know if there's something wrong with me because I'm not gonna put on a front for you because I might be happy, but am I genuinely happy? Do I have the joy of the Lord? I didn't. I didn't, y'all. I did not have the joy of the Lord. So, like I said, last year around September time, I rededicated my life over to the Lord. I used to curse. Like I said before, I was in sexual bondage. And I thought it was going to be a process when all this stuff was going to just eventually go away, or I wasn't going to have the desire. No, it was like overnight. It was overnight. Some things, not all things, but some things overnight. Then the Lord just began to work in my life. And I was just like, I'm being transparent. I like being in sin. And then when I rededicated my life over to the Lord and my process, I'm like, man, I could have did this a long time ago. Could have did this a long time ago. If it's like this, I'm not saying that I have problems, but it's different, y'all. It's just He began to show me and to let me know that I was worthy and there's no shame in him. And he forgives and he restores and he comforts and he heals and he delivers and he rescues and he sustains and he's a way maker. He keeps his promises, like, and I'm feeling all of this and I'm like, Lord, why did I take so long to get this, to have this intimate relationship with you? He showed me that I'm his daughter, like he loves me unconditionally, and that's all I've ever wanted, is for someone to love me unconditionally, someone to love me for who I am, no matter what I've done, no matter what I thought, no matter what I've gone through. Felt like damaged goods, y'all. Like I felt like I was not worthy of anything good, but the Lord showed me, and you are deserving of everything that your heart desired. So I'm like, that's where I am now. I didn't even, like, even when I didn't see my worth, God was still writing my story. Like, and this reminds me, and I have a scripture that ties into this, Jeremiah 29:11. For I know the plans I have for you, says the Lord. They are plans for good and not for disaster, to give you a future and a hope. I just never thought that I would be at this place. To have the peace and the joy that I feel and the contentment that I have no worry, that I don't have to look over my shoulder and wonder what's if something is going to happen. I felt that for a long time. So that's where I'm at right now. The Lord is still working on me, though. I'm not a perfect being. I still have flaws and I still have weaknesses and I still, at times, I still sin from time to time, but we're born sinners. Like that's the Lord is going to have to continuously work on us every day. Every day we have to ask the Lord for forgiveness, and we have to give our whole 100% selves to the Lord. We can't do that, like I said before. We can't do like 50%. We can't have a toe in. We can't have a toe out. We cannot be a part of the world. We have to come out. We can't say that we love the Lord and we are a child of God and we still over here trying to live in the world. So how this podcast came about, I wanted to do a podcast some years ago, but I was dating somebody and I told them about the podcast. Now, it was not going to necessarily be about this one. It was going to be about a lot of different things, but I was still doing worldly stuff at the time. So, I probably would have said some scriptures or something, but it was not going to be like this. And then it's kind of like he took it from me and I got discouraged. And I was just like, well, I don't even want to do it no more because he took it. He just ran it and was like, I'm going to do something, and I was like, okay. So when I rededicated my life over to the Lord, I thought about it again, but I didn't know if this was something that the Lord wanted me to do. And then someone confirmed it for me and told me that I have something to share with the world. And I knew right then and there what I was supposed to do. So at this point, I was like, okay, the vision of my podcast is going to be like a safe space, to have a real conversation about faith, relationships, healing, parenting, whatever the Lord wanted me to talk about, whatever he wanted me to talk about. And so the mission was also going to be to remind you guys that to remind everybody that our walk is never going to be perfect, but that we are not alone. And I had to realize this. I was not alone this whole time. All the stuff that I went through was to get me to this place that I am here in right now, to talk and share my testimony and my story with y'all. My podcast is for those who've ever felt unseen, heard, or unsure, because that was me. Or unseen, unheard. I didn't think the Lord listened to me. I didn't think he seen me. I didn't think he heard anything that I had to say. And that's the reason why I didn't pray. I didn't read my Bible. I would do it every once in a while, but so like I said, this podcast is for those people who felt that way. And also to let you know that your testimony matters too. No matter what you're going through, no matter what your past is, God is a restorer and God will redeem us. Just reflect on your own journey and your own testimony, because we all have we all have a purpose, and that purpose probably comes from what we're dealing with, what we've gone through in our lives. If you dealt with alcohol, maybe your purpose is in that, and And the Lord took that desire from you and you overcame that. If you were a drug addict, the same thing. If you were in the streets, if you were a gang member, I mean, it could have been a whole bunch of different things. You used to be a stripper. You used to have a sex addiction, like me. I mean, I was in bondage to sex. Like that was like a part of my life, like it was eating and breathing and sleeping. It was. But the Lord has delivered me from all of that. So reflect on your own journey and then share it with somebody. I mean, sometimes some of us like are not comfortable with sharing our testimony with other people. I have no problem with sharing my testimony because that's like I don't want anybody to go through what I went through. I don't want anybody to go through what I went through. So, scripture that ties into what I'm talking about in 2 Corinthians 5:17. This means that anyone who belongs to Christ has become a new person. The old life is gone and a new life has begun. Y'all, I'm a new person. I may not look like it. I may look to everybody else. Felicia looked the same. Mickey looked the same. But I'm not the same, y'all. I'm not the same. I'm a new person. The Lord has delivered me and made me a new creature. I'm a new person. The old things are gone. The past is gone. Now, I remember where I came from, but the past is gone. And I can only thank him for that because it wasn't for me. I didn't do nothing. I don't have the power to do any of this. I ain't got the pull to do any of this. I don't got it like that. Thank y'all for letting me share my heart with you today. This podcast is more than a platform. It's a part of it's a part, and I've been kind of reluctant to say this. I was talking to a friend of mine and I was like, I'm being kind of reluctant to say that this is my ministry, but I'm going to say that this is my ministry. This is a part of my healing. And I pray it's a part of yours too. If today's episode encouraged you in any way, shape, or form, please share it with a friend who needs hope. Don't forget to subscribe, like, and leave a comment. And follow me on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok at His Daughter's Journey, excuse me. So remember, y'all, starting September 5th is going to be the next episode to the Set Apart Love series. And it's going to be called Built to Last, God's Blueprint to Marriage. Excuse me. I don't know why I'm excited, but I'm excited about this next part of the series. So you definitely don't want to miss it. And remember, y'all, the walk isn't perfect, but you are never alone. Remember that. You are never alone. He is always with us. Until next time, y'all, this is Felicia, the host of His Daughter's Journey podcast. I love y'all. Be blessed.